Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today, we will step into the world of The Year of the Flood by Margaret Atwood. The Year of the Flood, 2009, by Margaret Atwood, is the second installment in the MaddAddam trilogy, which explores a world devastated by ecological collapse and a pandemic called the Waterless Flood. It follows the lives of survivors tied to God's Gardeners, a religious-ecological group, as they navigate the aftermath of societal downfall. This novel interweaves with events from Oryx and Crake, 2003, the first book in the trilogy, and sets the stage for the conclusion in MaddAddam, 2013, offering a multifaceted exploration of humanity's resilience, folly, and connection. Plot summary: the world is unrecognizable, ravaged by the Waterless Flood, a pandemic that has swept away much of humanity, leaving behind ruins where nature begins to reclaim its dominion. In this desolate landscape, two women endure, their lives intertwined by a past bound to God's Gardeners, a peculiar religious sect devoted to ecological harmony. The first is Toby, hardened by years of suffering and survival, who now fortifies herself in an abandoned spa, watching the world outside with wary eyes. The second is Wren, trapped in a quarantine chamber at a sex club, her fragile hope sustained by memories of her childhood among the gardeners and the friendships she once cherished. Toby's survival has been a hard-fought battle. Once an ordinary young woman, her life spiraled into chaos when her family fell victim to corporate greed and personal tragedy. Fleeing predators and exploitation, she eventually found refuge with God's Gardeners, where she learned to tend the earth, heal with herbs, and revere the fragile balance of life. The Gardeners, led by the enigmatic and philosophical Adam One, preached ecological stewardship and warned of an impending cataclysm, the flood, that would sweep away the corrupt and unworthy. Toby, pragmatic and skeptical, absorbed their lessons but never fully embraced their spiritual convictions. Even as she grew to admire their dedication, she remained on the periphery, her inner walls shielding her from full faith. Wren, on the other hand, came to the Gardeners as a child, brought there by her mother after a failed relationship. Among the rooftop gardens and hymn-singing disciples, she found solace and companionship, particularly in her friendship with Amanda, a daring and free-spirited girl who later left the group to forge her own path. Wren's life took her far from the Gardeners, leading her to work at the upscale Scales and Tails Club, where she performed for wealthy clients while keeping a guarded distance from the exploitative undercurrents of her profession. When the pandemic struck, she was isolated in the club's sterile quarantine zone, an unintentional blessing that saved her life. As the narrative unfolds, past and present intertwine, revealing the struggles that shaped these women and their connection to the larger tapestry of survival. Toby, entrenched in her spa refuge, relies on the skills she honed with the Gardeners. She tends a makeshift garden and watches the encroaching wilderness, haunted by memories of the sect's teachings and the faces of those she once knew: Adam One, the wise leader; Pillar, the nurturing beekeeper; and Zeb, the pragmatic and mysterious man who alternately inspired and unsettled her. Wren, confined in her glass-bricked room, reflects on her youth and the lessons of the Gardeners, whose foresight now seems prophetic. Her friendship with Amanda remains a lifeline, even in memory, as she waits for a rescue that may never come. Amanda herself is not far away, navigating the post-pandemic world with courage and cunning, her resourcefulness honed by years of living on the margins. The remnants of society, fractured and desperate, take many forms. There are the painballers, violent men who survived gladiatorial corporate punishment and now roam as feral predators, embodying the collapse of civilization's moral core. Corporations and genetic engineering have left their marks, creating strange hybrid creatures like the rakunks and luminous green rabbits that populate this new, wild world. Amid this chaos, Toby encounters Zeb, who becomes a source of tentative camaraderie and shared purpose. Together, they face the persistent threats that lurk in the shadows, both human and non-human. Wren's plight takes a turn when Amanda, accompanied by two former God's Gardeners, finds her trapped in the club. The reunion is bittersweet, as the world outside offers little comfort, but their bond strengthens their resolve. As they navigate this perilous new existence, they encounter painballers, whose savagery poses a dire threat. Ren and Amanda's resilience is tested to its limits, but they cling to the lessons of their past and their belief in the possibility of renewal. For Toby, the gardener's teachings linger, shaping her actions and providing moments of solace. Adam 1's sermons, once dismissed as quaint or overly idealistic, now resonate with the stark reality of a world undone by humanity's hubris. Even as she fights for survival, she plants seeds, literal and metaphorical, nurturing the possibility of life and hope amidst the ruins. In this broken world, the surviving gardeners find one another, their community fragile but enduring. The resilience they cultivated in their faith and practices helps them rebuild, one small step at a time. In a landscape where the remnants of humanity are scattered and scarred, their unity becomes a beacon, however faint, against the darkness. As the story closes, nature's inexorable reclamation continues. The gardener's hymns echo faintly in the memories of those who once sang them, blending with the rustle of leaves and the calls of hybrid creatures in the growing wild. The survivors persist, carrying the seeds of renewal within them, even as the shadow of the flood lingers on the horizon. That's it for today, but if you're craving more, dive into the rest of MaddAddam series by Margaret Atwood. The details are in the description, or just search on Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in Margaret Atwood's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.